All right, here we go with part C. Number 9 says you are signing up for karate lessons at the Who Flung Me dojo, and you pay $60 for a registration fee. So that's just a straight up $60 that you're paying. So I'm going to start by saying 60 plus 60. And then you're paying $12 for each lesson. You see that for each lesson part. So that's not just 12, that's $12 per lesson. And we know when we see like per lesson or per this or for this, we know that that's got to have a variable attached. So I'm going to put 12 and I'll put 12L, $12 per lesson. Okay, so that's for Who Flung Me. So we'll call this W. W equals 12L plus 60. At the Karate dojo, we'll call that the K dojo. We're paying a registration fee of $15 and we're paying $27 per lesson, though it's 27L. So, write an expression that represents the cost for L lessons. Hey, I already did that at the Who Flung Me. I already did that. So, at the Who Flung Me, we paid $12 per lesson plus a $60 registration fee. Cool, cool. And we understand why it's a 12L because that's the rate. That's $12 per lesson, okay? And then at the karate, we're paying $27 for lessons, for each lesson, plus a $15 registration fee. After how many lessons will the cost be the same? And show your work below. All right, so cool. So be the same, be equal, right? So when will W equal K? When will the Who Flung Me be equal to the karate? So what we do is we just set those two equations equal to each other. 12L plus 60. When's that going to equal 27L plus 15? All right. So we draw a line down the middle. We want all of our variables on one side and all of our constants on the other side. So honestly, because we're in the habit of putting all of our variables on the left from inequalities, I'm going to continue that same process. So yeah, I've already got a 12L over here. That's cool. But I need this 27L to be on the other side, so I'm going to put minus 27L. Because to make it go to the other side, you have to do the opposite thing. So it was a positive 27L. When I shift it to the other side, it's a negative 27L. Now I already have a 15 on the right side, but I need this plus 60 to move over there, where it's going to be a negative 60. Okay. Cool. Now, over here, I have, gross, 12 L's minus 27 L's. So the bigger number is negative, so my answer is going to be negative. And the difference between 27 and 12 is 15. So negative 15 L's. And 15 minus 60 makes a negative 45. Cool. And the last step would have us divide by negative 15. So we want to figure out what L is by itself. Hey, if this were an inequality, I'd be flipping my symbol right now. But it's not. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 45 divided by 15 is a 3. So if I took 3 lessons, it wouldn't matter which dojo I went to. They're the same amount. They would cost the same. Now, after 3 lessons, I'm thinking that the Who Flung Me is going to be cheaper after 3 lessons. So they're the same at 3 lessons. That's probably the most efficient way to do it. But I know some of you guys are going to take the long way, and you're just going to plug in numbers. You're going to see how much it costs after 1 lesson, after 2 lessons, after 3 lessons, and you'll be like, oh, it's the same. That's fine too. It just takes longer. I like this. Alrighty, up next we have an absolute value. Alright, so the first thing with absolute values is to get the absolute value by itself. That means this 2 that's in front of it needs to go. So that's 2 times the absolute value, so please divide by 2. There we go. Now I have the absolute value of 3x plus 11. equals 28 divided by 2 is 14. Awesome. So we do that to get the absolute value by itself. See the absolute value? There's nothing in front of it, nothing behind it, at least on its side. So now once we do that, that's where we can write our two equations. Remember I told you the story about the absolute value is like prison bars, and my uncle went to prison, and when he got out of prison, all right, so let's get out of prison, let's lose the bars, 3x plus 11. He could do the positive thing, positive 14, or when he got out of prison, all right, let's lose the bars, 3x plus 11, he could do a negative thing. All right. So that's what we do with absolute value bars. Think of it like my uncle going to prison. Okie doke. And now we got to solve it. So again, I want all my constants on one side. So move that plus 11 over by doing the opposite. And it says 3x equals 3. And we could divide by 3. And x equals 1. Cool, cool. Over on this side, same thing. Move the constant over, move the 11 over by subtracting 11. But this time, I've got 3x equals, and because it was a negative 14 minus 11, okay, think about you dig a 14-foot hole. It's a deep hole. And then you dig down 11 feet deeper. You just dug a 25-foot hole. So get it? We dug down under the ground. That's why it's negative, okay? And then divide by 3. So we can get x by itself. And x equals negative 25 thirds. I like that answer, but it's the fraction. I don't like fractions. Fractions are part of life. Deal with it. All right, moving on. A shuffleboard player, okay, slides a disc towards the target, blah, 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 blah. Okay, 8 feet per second. So I know that's a rate, so I'm already thinking like 8x, okay, because feet per second, that's a rate. All right, and you plan to hit, it's 20 feet away, and you plan to hit another disc that is within 1 foot. So the within 1 foot, that's the whole like give or take a foot thing. So I'm recalling this from the last unit. The target's 20 feet away. So remember, it's always going to be a minus whatever you're trying to get here. We're trying to get 20 feet. And then on the outside is always going to be whatever that within number is. So since it says within 1 foot, I'll put the 1 foot out here. Okay, so the 8 is there because it's the rate. The 20 is always it's always going to be a minus, and it's always going to be whatever our goal is, or whatever the thing that we're trying to get to is. So I'm just going to put goal, and then the number on the outside is always what you're trying to be within. Like if it said like give or take 3 feet or whatever, that would go there. All right. So that's how we work this thing. It's always like this. And do we have to solve it? I don't know. Oh, we just pick out the right one. So I'm going to pick out this one because it looks like what I wrote. Here we go. Now we get to solve it. So solving this one's going to be kind of easy because the absolute value is already like, there's no stuff on the outside of it over here. The absolute value is ready to go. All right. So since it's ready to go, I'm going to write my two equations. I'm going to write one where 8x minus 20 is equal to positive 1, and where 8x minus 20 is equal to negative 1. Got to move my constants over. And divide by 8. And I get x equals 21/8. Cool. Ooh, 21/8. Yeah. And then over here, same thing. Add 20. 8x equals -1 plus 20 is positive 19. Divide by 8, and x equals 19/8. Gross. Two gross numbers. And honestly, I don't know what that is as a decimal off the top of my head. I could probably think about it and figure it out, but who's got time for that? So the maximum number would be 21/8, and the minimum number of seconds would be 19/8. So what's that going to be? That's like 2 point something seconds. Both of them are. Both of them are like 2 point something. All right, last question here. What do we got? Given the formula, calculate volume. Volume equals length times width times height. All right, we've seen this before. This was on your last test. Volume equals length times width times height. So you see how they wrote it? You see how I wrote it? It's the same thing. It says solve for W. All right. Solve for W. So to solve for W, that means we have to undo this multiplication and this multiplication. How do you undo multiplication? With division. We'll divide by the L. That'll do it. And we should divide by H also. So we'll divide by L and H. And if you want to put a little dot between them, that's cool. So we're dividing by L, we're dividing by H. That leaves us with W. But if I do it to that side, I have to be fair and do it to the other side. So since I divided by L and H, I'll divide by L and H over here as well. So my final answer is W equals V over LH. All right, cool. Well, guys, I hope you learned something. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I'll give you all your money back.